We get to hear this all the time, that this Gen Z is very emotionally weak, this is a weak generation, this generation cannot cope up with the stresses that we have gone through, and who is responsible? Well, I'm Riri Trivedi. I'm a parent of 2 Gen Z kids, and this video is for all of you Generation Z followers and parents out there to understand that is this really right that this generation is emotionally weak? And if it is right, then who is responsible for it? First, let us begin by understanding what is Gen Z and Gen Alpha. What are these terms? So basically, all the children who are born after 1997 up to 2012 are considered as Generation Z, Gen Z. And children who are born after 2012 are Gen Alpha. Those who are born before 1997 are Gen X or millennials, baby boomers, etc. So I am Generation X and my children are Gen Z. I would like to first of all say that yes, research shows that today Gen Z is most vulnerable to mental health issues like anxiety, depression, insomnia, loneliness versus all the previous generations. Yes, today suicides are on the rise and more young people are succumbing to suicide. There is lots of research today which shows that yes, this generation, Gen Z, is emotionally much less resilient than the previous generations. And it is so easy to blame them for it. But I would like to ask this question, that who is responsible? This generation was not born like this, but they have become this way because of the environment that they have faced. If I today pick up a mango sapling and plant it, say in Kutch, it will grow very differently. If the same mango sapling is planted in South Gujarat, it will grow very differently. If it is planted in Kerala, it might grow very differently. So we know that an environment, parenting, has a huge role to play in the outcomes of Gen Z that we are seeing today. So it is very wrong, first of all, to compare and say that this generation is like this and we were more strong and our generation was better and we survived and look at them and they are not able to face these challenges, etc. Because we must first of all understand that this generation is being brought up in an environment that is completely different from the previous generations. First of all, Gen Z is a digital native, which means this is a generation that has been brought up on devices like smartphone, and it has been the first early generation to use social media. This is also a generation that has seen a global pandemic like COVID, which has killed millions of people. A lot of these are contributing to the stress and anxiety that this generation is growing up with. We must also understand that the environment that this generation is growing up with has a lot of these issues. First, there is a lot of competition. In my times when I was growing up, getting a 60 to 70% marks assured me admission in a good college. Today, these kids have to get 99% marks and still they are not getting admission in colleges. Secondly, there is a lot of comparison and peer pressure because of social media and phone usage. In my times, my reference of comparing myself was probably limited to my friends, my college friends, or at the most the kids in my city. But today, a boy who is living in a remote village in Gujarat has access to seeing the lifestyle of kids anywhere in the world, which means that this child living in a small village compares himself or herself to kids from all over the world who have a different lifestyle, who have different body, who have different skin type, who have a different kind of environment. And this comparison also causes a lot of pressure in this generation. So we have literally brought the world at their doorstep, at their fingertips, which is good, but it comes with its share of anxiety and pressure. The third point is, of course, this generation has grown up with a lot of pollutants in the environment, in the food, in the water, in the content that they are consuming. And this is also contributing to a lot of underlying stress that their system is going through. Fourthly, Generation Z has been brought up by parents, the millennials, who are themselves a generation of very anxious people. When we were young, we have grown up with the hustle culture. We have grown up with a lot of competition. We have seen the economic growth and development, and we want it all. So we as a generation have a lot of this culture of, always coming first, getting it right, going ahead, being first in the race, etc. And this hustle culture has brought a lot of stress to my generation. And then when my generation with this stress and hustle culture is now raising children, we are passing on that stress or pressure to these children, which are not theirs to carry. So there is a generation of parents who want their child to be the best, want their child to be the first, to be the achiever, to be the gold medalist, and this is what is passing on the pressure to the children. My generation parents also were not aware of mental health issues. So yes, there would have been anxiety, depression, BPD, bipolar, all of that in my times. But because of lack of awareness, my entire generation of people did not address their mental health issues. And because of this, our behaviors and our mental health issues are affecting our children now. Gen Z, on the contrary, have all the awareness. They have the understanding. So they are recognizing the mental health issues that they are carrying and they are wanting to fix it. So they are not going to suppress, they are not going to deny the way our generation did. And which is why there is a lot of conflict, because there is a whole generation of parents who are in denial about mental health issues. They claim that they have been very strong, they have had no issues, and they have unknowingly passed on all of this in their parenting styles to the children. And this is a Gen Z who is now showing them the mirror and saying, well, you have anxiety and that is why I have anxiety. And most parents do not like to hear this. I would also like to say that this generation has very less hypocrisy, very less suppression, and they are very, very honest and very smart because they have so much of awareness and information. So you cannot bullshit them. My whole generation grew up bullshitting ourselves at many, many levels, whether it was about mental health, whether it was about our self-esteem, confidence, whether it was about living up to certain cultural and family systems. And hence, we have been a generation of suppressed people, but our kids are not. I would also like to say that our generation, of course, grew up with a lot of social support. Because we did not have devices, we did not have phones and social media, we were very well connected with our neighbors, our friends. We could spend hours and hours talking to our friends. But today's generation, unfortunately, has friends, but they all spend hours with their friends on their respective devices or phones and gadgets. And hence, there is a very high level of loneliness, lack of social support that this generation is facing, despite of having a social circle. Also, after COVID, a lot of this generation has gone through social anxiety, which also makes them more lonely, more isolated. Our generation, of course, grew up with bigger family systems, bigger family support, and this generation is growing up in a society that is more and more individualistic. So this generation has been brought up by couples who are both working, very poor family support, and hence it is also affecting the way this Gen Z has been brought up, because a parental stress and parental pressure is also being passed on to them. Our generation did not recognize our issues, so we are also carrying a lot of ancestral trauma, a lot of behavioral patterns which are unhealthy, which are being passed on to the next generation, simply because we did not acknowledge it or take any help for it. I would also like to say that one of the big reasons why this generation appears emotionally weak is also because our generation, a whole lot of us, have raised our children in a very permissive and a pampered parenting style. So parents who themselves were raised by a lot of discipline, lot of violence, abuse and control are getting polarized, and now they are raising their children with a completely opposite parenting style, where the children have no boundaries, no rules, children are friends. And this permissive parenting style is making this generation extremely spoiled, weak, soft and entitled. So I would like to say that good parenting is not equal to permissive parenting, and our generation has to find the balance without blaming the Gen Z, because Gen Z is also a whole bunch of kids who are spoiled, pampered and entitled by their parents. It's not the fault of the kids any which ways, because they didn't have a choice on how their parents have raised them. Do not compare your childhood with your child's childhood. Do not compare your generation with this. This is a completely new species, new brain, new neural pathways we are dealing with over here, and the environment that we have created is producing this generation that we are seeing today. So instead of putting all the blame on the generation, let us as parents, as educators, as institutions, examine where have we gone wrong and where can we correct this, so that the future generations do not have to suffer like this generation has done. We can still correct certain things, we can still mend our ways, and we can still create an environment which will help us raise more emotionally resilient and stronger children. No point putting the blame on the kids, because ultimately it is the parents and the environment that are responsible for the way the children turn out. It is a gardener who is responsible for how the plant turns out. If the plant is planted in the right environment, it is bound to thrive and flourish. I hope that this video gives you some things to think about. I hope this video gives you some moments of introspection as parents or as relatives of Gen Z, and do share your thoughts in the comment section below. Tell me, what do you feel about it? I would love to hear from you and more of you who are parents of this generation like I am. Thank you.